Here is how we match the scatter plots for speed versus height, speed versus base, and speed versus slope to these 5 ramps. So we're going to start off with speed versus height. And we know that speed versus height has some sort of correlation or some sort of trend in the data, which means that we could go with, we have to get rid of A, B, and C, F, G, and H. D and E are the only 2 that show any sort of trend in the data. Now we have to pick D or E. Well, E has 5 points and D has 4 points. So your gut might be to go with E. But if we look at the ramps, we can see that ramp number 1 and ramp number 4 are both just as tall as one another. They have the same height. They have a height of 3. And since speed depends only on height and nothing else, we know that ramps 1 and 4 will have the same speed and the same height. So actually they will have the same data point, which means that D is correct. So because, let's see, this dot right there, the second dot, that's going to be ramp 1 and ramp 4. Okay, we've got ramp 2 down here. Ramp 3 is up at the top, and ramp 5 is second to last. So it's getting a little messy here. That's ramp 5. Okay, so here we go, D. That's the answer for that one. Next, let's do speed versus base. Speed versus base doesn't have a connection, so it's not going to be D, and it's not going to be E. So let's take a look at what we think would be the slowest ramp. Well, what we know would be the slowest ramp, that's number 2. And number 2 also happens to have the smallest base. So slowest ramp with the smallest base has a base of 1. There's another one, ramp number 4, that has a base of 1, but since it's taller than ramp number 2, we know that it will be faster. So this will not be a case like the last one, where we had 2 ramps that had the same height and same speed. So they had the same horizontal variable and vertical variable, or values for those. This is different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all 6 scatter plots that are left. I'm just going to circle the points that are all the way to the left. Because if the x-axis is base, then that means that the smallest base will be points over to the left. Okay, so here we go. We're going to circle those for A, and there's 2 of them with different speeds, so that is possible because 2 and 4 have the smallest base, and 2 has a slower speed than 4. B only has 1 dot as the smallest base, so that is goodbye. C also only has 1 dot as the smallest base. Goodbye. F has 2 dots for the smallest base, so we'll keep that for now. And G and H only have 1 dot representing the smallest base. Okay. If we take a look at A versus F, let's look at F. This top dot right here, that's showing the smallest base and the fastest speed, which we know is not true. We know the fastest speed comes from ramp 3, and that does not have the smallest base. So therefore, we know that F is not it. We know that A, then, is the only one left. This is speed versus base. Last one, speed versus slope. So what we have here, we can go through our slopes. We'll go through the slope. So we've got a slope for ramp number 1 of 1.5. For ramp number 2, we've got a slope of 2. And I'm getting these slopes by taking the height and dividing it by the base. For ramp number 3, we've got a slope of 5/3, which is 1.6 repeating. For ramp 4, I've got a slope of 3. And for ramp 5, I've got 4/5, which is 0.8. Whoops. Okay, so one thing that we know is, first of all, we know slope and speed are not related. So D and E are out. Also, we already used A, so that's out too. So here's what we know. None of these ramps have the same slope, meaning that none of them will have the same value of the same x value or the same horizontal value. So we can't have two dots right on top of each other because none of these are equal. 1.5, 2, 1.6, repeating, 3, 0.8. Okay, so anything that has two dots stacked on top of each other, like in C, that can't be it. We don't have two with the same slope. F, see you later. All right, those two are gone. So here's what we're going to do last. I'm going to say that the fastest ramp, which is 3, has a slope right in the middle. There's two slopes that are higher, so ramp 2 and ramp 4. Ramp 2 and ramp 4 have higher slopes. Ramps 1 and ramp 5 have smaller slopes. So I'm going to circle the top dot, which these dots would have the fastest speed because it's the highest. And then I'm going to look and see which one has two dots to the left and two dots to the right. So for B, we've got 1, 2, 3 dots to the left and only 1 dot to the right. So this is out. For G, there's 2 dots to the left, 2 dots to the right. That's a possibility. For H, we've got 3 dots to the left, 1 dot to the right. That can't be right. So our answer here is going to be G. You can do this a lot of different ways. You could have chosen, to do the highest slope and looked at the dot that was all the way to the right and seen that that should be tied for the second slowest speed and evaluated it that way too. And sometimes we do have to evaluate more than just one dot.